the best European castle I've ever been to is Carcassonne in France. When you first see this castle, it looks like it's not real, like it's a painting, like it's actual castle that if times got tough back in medieval times, you could just huddle up in that castle, shoot some arrows off the top and defend yourself. Looking at it, you actually feel like you're back in medieval times. But anyways, it's one of the most incredible walled cities in all of Europe. And it's personally my favorite castle I've ever been to. So setting up some context, some history. Carcassonne is famous for its double ring fortification. There's like two walls. There's an inner wall and an outer wall. It has over 50 towers, and it's one of the most well-preserved medieval castles of all time. The outside of it is my favorite. It's stunning. It actually looks like the outside of like a Disney castle almost. So when I first saw Carcassonne Castle, it was almost kind of a jump scare. I was walking through the city right next to it, looking at all the cool French buildings there. They have some cool statues, like a baby on a swing. And then all of a sudden, it opens up with this river and a giant castle on a hilltop in the distance. And when I first saw it, I knew it was something old. It was like there's like a modern city below it, and then this old ass castle above it. As I walked towards it, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was awesome. It was like breathtaking. Everything you've seen in the movies, everything you imagine in the movies, all these video games I've played where there's like a castle, it looks like that, it feels like that. And the weather wasn't even good on the day I went. It was kind of foggy.
Looks like something out of like Hogwarts, bruh.
And then I finally entered the walls, and you have to walk up a pretty steep hill. There's a pretty tough walk up, but it was totally worth it. As you walk through the entrance, the walls just climb up both sides. I was thinking about back in the olden days, if I was defending this place, where I would stand. I'd be like an archer aiming down. An easy shot. I was an easy target is what I was trying to say, walking up into that castle. And then once you cross those walls and you actually enter the castle, that's kind of where the dream ends, or the fantasy ends, because then it just becomes a pretty touristy location. You see the typical tourist food advertisements with the sign out there and the pictures of food on there. But luckily, the inside of the castle really isn't even that big. So you walk inside the castle, you see it all in 15 minutes, and then you can get to the main part, which is the outside of the castle. I finished and walked through the entire castle in like 15 minutes, and then I walked inside the walls, kind of on the outskirts. And then after that, I walked on the outside, the full outside of the castle, and walked all the way around. Because the main attraction was the walls. Walking by them, it just puts you in a mood. It puts you back in that location, back in that spot from when they were there like thousands of years ago. And that's kind of something that pictures don't really do it justice. You see pictures of castles all the time, but when you're there looking at it, you jump in the perspective of, if I was a peasant during that time and I saw that castle, I'd be like, God damn, I'm protected inside these walls. Or if I wasn't within those walls, I'd be like, damn, I wish I was in those walls because that's okay. I wish I was protected in there because of how crazy and daunting it looks. Being on the outskirts of those walls, walking around those walls, really is like a flash into the past. I paid like 10 euros to get like the full access to places where you usually can't see. And I was able to see this crazy old church. Apparently it's Romanesque, like made by Romans. And then one of my favorite parts, with that 10 euros that I spent, I got to walk up on top of these walls, and you get to walk all the way around it. You get to see what parts of the castle were built within what times. You got to see archer lookout spots, like little tiny slots in the walls where archers got to shoot out of it. You got to see where people defending it dropped rocks and dropped boulders onto people trying to attack the wall. And on top of all that, for dinner, I had this thing called a cassoulet. It's kind of a traditional food from that part of France. It's like a duck soup, pork, with some like white beans in it. And it was really delicious. It had kind of like a home feel to it, like a stew, like something you're eating by a warm fireplace. I got a red wine with it, and I'm not a big wine fan, so I had to force that down, but it was overall a great experience. So Carcassonne, my favorite castle, my favorite European castle, and all of the world. It's not just a normal castle where you walk up to it. Like, there's an Edinburgh castle, I went to that one, and that one is more of like a history thing. This one was like a living, breathing fantasy kind of thing. It's incredible, would definitely recommend it. All right guys, comment down below. Have you been to Carcassonne? What was your favorite part of it? Have you seen any other cool castles? Let me know, give me some recommendations. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Peace and love, ciao.
Stone in my hands.